And I was about to spar, before I was about to spar Tank, he was sparring this big boy.
A heavyweight.
Heavyweight boy. And Tank hit that nigga, he hit him so hard that he was on the top of the rope just like this.
Oh! I think the speed, Gervonta Tank Davis, if he put on the right weight, put the right weight on, and have the lean muscle right, he can look fantastic somewhere in the mid 150s, dare I say, close to 160 against Jake Paul.
In stunning, unseen footage, Gervonta Davis reportedly floors a heavyweight sparring partner while training for his upcoming showdown with Jake Paul. The clip captures Tank's trademark power and pinpoint timing as he lands a devastating left hand that abruptly ends the session. Fans are calling it undeniable proof that Davis's speed, precision, and knockout power remain unmatched, even against much larger opponents. Showbiz The Adult predicts that Gervonta Davis will enter the ring around 154 pounds for his fight against Jake Paul, brushing off claims that Tank will be undersized. He points out that Davis has previously walked around near that weight, making it far from uncharted territory. In fact, Showbiz notes that Tank has even trained as heavy as 160 pounds, proving the move up isn't as dramatic as critics suggest. According to him, Davis's years of sparring with naturally bigger fighters have sharpened his timing, reflexes, and counterpunching, skills that will neutralize Jake's size advantage. With Tank's trademark explosive power and elite ring IQ, Showbiz believes he holds a decisive edge in this matchup. Confident in his assessment, he boldly predicts that Gervonta Davis will knock out Jake Paul with ease.
150s, dare I say, close to 160 against Jake Paul. And dare I say it, I think that's the right thing for him to do. Why? I've been saying this. Number one, fighters need to start fighting closer to their walk-around weight. They're just healthier that way. They're just better and healthier that way. I mean, I know it's probably surprising them too. Like, that was the best I've seen Terrence Bud Crawford. Lamont Roach, he's fighting Pitbull at 140, coming from 130 and a pit stop at 135. You have Shakur Stevenson talking about fighting Teofimo Lopez. They're very close to making that fight at 140. And I think all of them would look their best there, especially Roach, where he ain't knocking nobody out down there at 130. But I bet you he'll be swatting far more at 140. Gervonta Tank Davis, I think, just like the others, fighting closer to your walk-around weight is just going to be one of the better performances for Gervonta Tank Davis. He's going to learn a lot about his body. He's going to learn a lot about himself and where he should campaign moving forward. Maybe even meeting Roach in that rematch at 140 himself. Also, another reason why I think it behooves him to come in knocking at 160 pounds is because of Jake Paul. It's not like Tank is going to dodge every punch Jake Paul throws, all right? Some of those are going to land, and more than likely it's going to land on his guard. Tank is going to have his guard up. We need for him to be solid enough, his foundation and his base solid enough, so when Jake Paul hits him with those shots, he doesn't go flying around the ring.
Gervonta Davis has reportedly been sparring with significantly bigger opponents in preparation for his upcoming showdown with Jake Paul. But for Tank, this is nothing new. From the early days of his career, Davis has consistently tested himself against heavier fighters, using those sessions to refine his timing, precision, and ring awareness. With his explosive power and elite fight IQ, taking on larger opponents has never been a challenge for him. It's simply part of what makes him so dangerous. In the latest training footage, Gervonta Davis appears sharper, leaner, and more focused than ever before. Every punch he throws is a blend of explosive power and surgical precision, reflecting years of relentless discipline. His footwork is light yet commanding, and each strike on the heavy bag flows with calculated rhythm and intent. Observers can see the intensity in his eyes and the seamless coordination between his speed, timing, and power. The clips alone make it clear Davis is taking this fight deadly seriously. Boxing analysts across the sport have noted that Tank's current form looks better than it has in years, describing him as *** ready for war ***. The combination of power, ring IQ, and control he's displaying in camp has reignited conversations about just how dangerous Gervonta Davis still is at the elite level. One of the biggest talking points heading into this fight is the weight difference. Some believe Jake Paul's natural size gives him a physical edge, while others argue that Gervonta Davis's skill set will completely neutralize that advantage. Many fans question whether the size gap could pose problems for Tank, but those familiar with his career know he's long been comfortable sparring, and even dominating. *** bigger men ***. Supporters remind critics that boxing isn't decided by weight alone, but by timing, discipline, and technical intelligence. Davis's defensive mastery and counterpunching precision make him a nightmare for opponents of any size. His camp remains confident that Tank's ability to read movement, handle pressure, and exploit openings will allow him to turn Jake's size into a liability. For Davis, this fight isn't about proving brute strength. It's about proving superior skill.
It is happening. WBA lightweight champion Gervonta Davis, who's unbeaten in 31 professional contests, takes on the self-proclaimed problem child, Jake Paul, one of the most influential and marketable global personalities. Paul and Davis square off in Miami after doubts around the fight being sanctioned in Georgia triggered a change in venue. Neither fighter can weigh more than 195 pounds. The weight is perhaps the most surprising factor. Paul has boxed most of his career around 200 pounds, the cruiserweight limit, but did tip the scales at 227 pounds when he faced off against Iron Mike Tyson last year. Davis, much smaller in stature, competes at the 135 pound mark and has also won world honours at super featherweight. And despite some discussions about possibly dropping down to 10 ounces, the pair seem set to wear 12-ounce gloves. And in terms of distance, despite the exhibition tag, the fight will play out over 10 3-minute rounds with 3 scoring judges at ringside, but the result will not be officially recorded on their professional records.
Lamont Roach has recently been outspoken about his frustrations with Gervonta Davis, hinting at lingering issues between the two. His comments have sparked discussion across the boxing world, with many analysts detecting a tone of bitterness behind his words. Some suggest that Roach's frustration may stem less from any real conflict and more from resentment toward Davis's success and financial dominance in the sport. Once, there was mutual respect between them, but now, Roach's remarks seem to carry a personal edge. Observers believe he's struggling to come to terms with how Davis continues to command headlines and secure massive paydays, while others in his division remain overlooked. Commentators note that when money, fame, and legacy intertwine, rivalries often take on an emotional layer. For Davis, though, these outside distractions mean little. He remains silent, disciplined, and focused, allowing his work in the gym to speak louder than any war of words.
Off rip, the question is direct. Reportedly, Tank's gonna make $40 million around there to fight Jake Paul. Would you do the same thing if you were in the situation? And he's like, actually, this is what I explained before. You're beating around the bush. It's really a yes or no. I would do it. I would take the 40 mil, or I wouldn't take the 40 mil. But let's listen to this long, drawn-out explanation.
There's about $40 million that he's going to get paid. If you were in his shoes, wouldn't you do the same thing?
See, now, this is something that I explain and express, and I hope everybody gets. that opportunity is an opportunity that you probably cannot pass up. But it's about how you handle it. It's about how you go about it. A lot of people don't know they actually exercise his rights to the rematch, so that contractually binds us to a fight. You cannot breach that unless you do what you have to do to handle the business, to be like, okay, well, we mutually agree to let you move on and or swindle around and fight Jake Paul for this money. If you think I'm going to sit back by the wayside and sit there and be like, well, even though I'm contracted to fight this guy for this amount of money on this certain day, I'm just going to sit there and be cool with, oh, he might not ever fight me, and he's going to go fight and get paid and get this money, and I'm not supposed to get anything.
Boxing analysts often point out that Gervonta Davis doesn't receive the full credit he deserves for his accomplishments. They argue that his opponents frequently gain massive recognition after sharing the ring with him. Proof of the influence and star power Tank holds within the sport. Fighters who were once relatively unknown suddenly become household names simply because they faced him. This recurring pattern underscores how Davis not only dominates his opponents, but also elevates their careers in the process. Critics who question the strength of his competition are reminded that his presence alone can make or break a fighter's reputation. Experts emphasize that Davis's victories go beyond knockouts. They define him as a spotlight carrier, someone whose impact extends far beyond the ring.
Ongoing discussion in the boxing world about Gervonta Davis and Gervonta Davis, his resume, who he's going to fight, the competitors that he's going to fight. And every once in a while, something happens that proves that Gervonta Davis is the face of that. If he's not the face of boxing because people just don't want him to be that, man, he is real close to it, because other than Canelo Alvarez, and even consider Canelo Alvarez included, nobody in boxing has divisions circulating around him like Gervonta Davis does. And that was proved during this Lamont Roach versus Pitbull Cruz announcement for their pay-per-view. Just think about this. Gervonta Davis, they always say that Gervonta Davis has a poor resume, but yet Gervonta Davis, guys that fight Gervonta Davis, lose to Gervonta Davis, or get a draw to Gervonta Davis, can fight one another and make an anticipated pay-per-view between the two of them. Because that fight with Pitbull Cruz is a very, very popular fighter with Mexican fight fans. Lamont Roach got a lot of name exposure with black fight fans and Mexican fight fans and white fight fans, all with his draw that he got against Gervonta Davis. Now they believe that this is going to be able to be a profitable endeavor for a pay-per-view. Now let me also tell you that Rolly Romero, who was somebody else that Gervonta Davis fought in the past, will be on a pay-per-view that's going to be successful, most likely, when he defends his WBC.
Stephen Fulton has come forward to defend Gervonta Davis amid ongoing criticism that Tank is only fighting for money. Fulton stressed that every boxer has the right to secure their future, especially after years of putting their body and health on the line inside the ring. He pointed out that Davis has already achieved greatness, ***, winning world titles, ***, and delivering unforgettable performances. So taking high-profile, lucrative fights at this stage is completely reasonable. According to Fulton, fighters deserve to strike a balance between legacy and financial security, particularly in a sport where careers can end in an instant. His remarks reminded fans that Tank has earned the right to make decisions that serve both his professional growth and personal stability. Coming from a respected fighter like Fulton, the message resonated strongly, reinforcing the idea that Davis's choices reflect wisdom and strategy, not greed.
Anybody in that position would have taken that fight, especially with the payout. It's like, that's a no-brainer, but I understand. I still feel for Lamont. That's my boy. Like, he still want his rematch. But then when you be realistic about the money situation, you're changing your whole family life. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's people hate on it because they're not the one in that position. I'm not saying Lamont. I'm speaking like other boxers. Like, oh, he this for that. He's a side quest. It's a little side quest. Because what happened when Floyd and all these guys went on WWE, but then they get right back to what they're doing? You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's not a little side quest. I'm all for people just getting their money, so get the best, make the most that you can out of this entertainment world. Cause, I mean, I don't know. I would have done it as far as the money aspect, cause none of us would deny that money. They talk like they would, none of them would deny that money.
Luke Thomas offered a different perspective on the situation. While he praised Gervonta Davis's knockout power and technical mastery, he noted that something about Tank's demeanor feels different this time. In recent interviews and public appearances, Davis hasn't shown the same intensity or edge that typically defines him before a major fight. Thomas observed that Tank appears calm, almost detached, as if this matchup doesn't stir him emotionally or competitively. To him, it seems Davis views the bout more as a financial move than a genuine test of skill. He suggested that perhaps it's the spectacle and hype surrounding Jake Paul, rather than the challenge itself, that caught Tank's attention. Still, Thomas acknowledged that even a less motivated Gervonta Davis remains a serious threat. With his natural talent, ring IQ, and experience, Tank possesses an advantage that few fighters, motivated or not, can hope to overcome.
So in that sense, it's a little bit different. It's not different in the sense of a boxer in his prime or relative prime straying off the path, but this one is not. It's not like someone else, in a similar weight. It's like completely the opposite, and so that makes it, I think, look and feel weird. And then on top of it, obviously, Gervonta's got other business to handle. He looked to me, Gervonta, absolutely, completely disinterested. Even at the beginning of this year, and even at the pre-fight Lamont Roach stuff, Tank was talking about how much time he has left in boxing, which he was critical isn't much. The Lamont Roach fight, it blew up in his face, but Lamont Roach was cherry-picked. I think Tank thought, I'll just fight another guy from, the Mid-Atlantic area who's, remember Roach came up from 30 to 35 to fight him. And Tank thought he was just going to cruise. And then it blew up in his face, and, you're left with that. So, you're making a point about, he's got this obligation. That's true. But he was already fucking around. He was already taking opponents that, again, I think Roach showed everyone that was a mistake, but put yourself in Tank's mind. Tank was taking a fight against someone he was clearly, in his mind anyway, better than, and was just going to cruise. So he was already in that state. Then you marry that with statements like, I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing this, and blah, blah, blah. And, I'm worried about going to therapy because it'll take away my competitive edge.
Even though some view this fight as a money-making spectacle, others see it as a personal statement from Gervonta Davis. For Tank, this isn't just about recognition. It's about reminding the world that real fighters can dominate on any stage, whether it's inside the boxing ring or under the glare of social media. But a victory here wouldn't just add to his legacy. It would prove that skill, discipline, and authenticity still outweigh internet fame and viral hype. Davis understands that his audience now includes both hardcore boxing purists and casual fans drawn by Jake Paul's celebrity, and he's ready to bridge that divide. For him, this fight represents a chance to reclaim boxing spotlight, to shift attention away from entertainment-driven narratives and back toward true competition. If he wins decisively, it will send a powerful message. Genuine talent will always rise above manufactured fame.
Davis in this particular in the press conference, and you can just look at him and tell, no, this dude he's gonna get this money for sure, because there's so much money out there to be had. But Jake Paul better be not playing around, man. Not get cute, not play any games, don't hit him in the back of the head, don't rabbit punch him, don't do any of that stuff, man, because Mike Tyson, first of all, a lot of people think Mike Tyson was pulling punches on Jake Paul, and a lot of people think that Anderson Silva was pulling punches on him too. You're not going to have a little Gervonta out there pulling punches on you, man, if you're out there playing games. So, I don't like the fight at all, However, as far as it being an entertaining situation, I almost guarantee you that that fight itself is going to be entertaining. That it's going to be something that you look at and you're going to say, man, everybody's going to watch it. Everybody's going to want to know what happens in it. But at the same time, it's kind of like what people think, you know, when you see a car crash. Like you're driving down the road and all of a sudden the traffic gets heavy and you're like, man, I'm going to be in traffic for a long time. And then you drive forward a little bit and then you see, oh man, this is some accident on the other side of the road and everybody just slowing down to watch. That's the type of entertainment that you can expect from this fight between Gervonta Davis and Jake Paul. There's going to be a lot of people watching it, but I gotta say, man, you really can't blame the guy on what he's doing. And there's a lot of criticism flying on Gervonta Davis. It's not Gervonta Davis's fault that boxing took this turn.
Charleston, White has never been one to bite his tongue, and he made his thoughts on Jake Paul unmistakably clear. In his view, Jake's boxing career is built more on entertainment than true competition. White argued that once Jake steps into the ring with someone like Gervonta Davis, the gap between a trained world champion and a social media boxer will become undeniable. He emphasized that Tank's reflexes, timing, and years of elite-level experience will expose Jake's lack of real boxing depth. According to White, fame can attract attention, but it can never substitute for hard-earned experience. He insists that true boxing legends are forged through grueling battles, not exhibition bouts or online hype. Charleston's blunt take echoes what many hardcore fans already believe, that Davis operates on a level Jake Paul has never even approached. And once the two finally meet in the ring, he predicts that reality will hit Jake harder than any punch he's ever taken.
Davis and Jake Paul fight. And what he said was, look, man, do not pick against Jake Paul because he didn't believe that any of the fights that Jake Paul have had to date really have been a real thing. And that the boxing world is looking for that great WHITE hype. And Jake Paul is going to be that guy, even though he really can't do it in a real boxing match. So he was basically reflecting and saying that he, you know, the saying where they say, believe a half of what you hear, half of what you see and none of what you hear. He adjusted it to say, don't believe anything you hear and anything you say, anything that you hear and anything that you see. And honestly, man, when it comes to internet boxing, YouTube boxing, and what people say is going on in the media, without a doubt, I think Charleston White is 100% right about that. Don't believe anything you hear. Don't believe anything you see. Wait to see how things play out, and ultimately everything will come out in the wash. Well, going into this fight with Gervonta Davis, I had my concerns about the fight because of the same type of reasoning that Charleston White used, except for mine is slightly different. I don't think that either one of these guys are going to try to do too much damage to each other. Number one, because if it's scripted, which more than likely to an extent it will be, Gervonta Davis is not going to put himself in a situation where Jake Paul is going to actually be able to hurt him.
That's it for today's video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more updates and boxing breakdowns. Until next time,